I got more into like toxic shame, and I was like, I don't know what toxic shame feels like. And then I got into it, and then like, oh shit, so this is actually what toxic shame feels like. And then like it was just so much clearer, because when I grew up, no one told me what kind of feelings I'm feeling. I was like, I don't know what I'm feeling. What kind of emotions are there?
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Marvin Jordan, the healthy masculine. Welcome to the show, Marvin. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. It's the first time that I'm doing it. I hope everything is going well, and I'm very happy to be here. Very happy.
Oh, me too, me too. Especially that we haven't
Yeah.
seen each other for quite a while. We met on Madeira, this beautiful Portuguese island, around a month ago, and yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just so happy to be connecting to you again right now and to talk about so many amazing things. Because
Oh yeah.
just for you all guys to know who listen to us, we have a WhatsApp group called Shadow Work Junkies because we are shadow work junkies. We love
Mm.
shadow work, and I just love talking to Marvin all the time because he is always like, "Yeah, I got some awesome triggers," and it's just so exciting to be triggered for us. So, of course,
Mm.
sometimes it's not pleasant, but it still can be exciting to heal because it's so important to do that. So let's start with a little bit of background story for our listeners, because I always ask at the beginning of the podcast. Everyone is curious, like, how did you get to do what you're doing? Because
Mm.
you chose this path to spread this healthy masculine vibe and to really ground, I guess, in the masculinity, because I feel like the world actually needs it because the masculine is so misperceived. And so, how did you become the coach and, focusing on healthy masculine, especially because something had to happen for you to choose it, right?
Well, yeah. So when I was a kid, um, I grew up without. I didn't grow up with a dad. So that's basically it. I didn't grow up with a dad. So I just had my mom, and she did everything. When we were like two brothers, so I have like in total three. We're in total two brothers, and my mom had to do everything on her own, and it was just crazy. And she couldn't handle it. She was overwhelmed by us because we also very. There was no like masculine figure that could, I don't know, like help us and stay grounded and show us boundaries and whatever, like everything that is healthy in a masculine, there was none, and my mom was just overwhelmed. So what then happened is we did a lot of sports. My brothers, we all did judo, and it gave us some kind of guidance at the time. But the guy that was training us in judo, he was very strict. And now looking back, it was very unhealthy. This guy also abused me when I was younger, and which is one part of the story. Like, he abused me, and I never really talked about it, and I just really recently tried to heal it. And then, yeah, moving on in my years, when I was growing up, I never really had someone like guiding me in the direction of a healthy masculine. And then I grew up, I was never aware, okay, what is it being masculine? And I just got into it because I was interested in girls. I got interested in girls when I grew up, puberty and everything. And it was just so hard for me. It was just so hard for me to be able to go talk to women. It was so hard. And every time I tried to like make a move or show my interest, I just ended up in the friend zone. I ended up in the friend zone, or yeah, I didn't know how to handle women. I didn't know how to talk to them. And then I got interested in dating. I got interested in dating to, like, okay, what can you do? How do you talk? What should you be doing in order to get intimate? All of that stuff. There was so much online, and I tried out so many things, but deep down I felt so uncomfortable in my body. Felt so uncomfortable in my body. And what then happened is that I discovered letting go. I discovered letting go, and I was like, "What is this?" And I went to a seminar with a guy, with a coach, like got us deep and tried to like make us understand what letting go is. He did some meditations, and he did a death meditation. And when we did that, we were like laying down on the floor, and like we literally had to imagine that we're dying. And I could imagine that I was dying, but I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry. Everyone around me was like, okay, most of the guys were crying, but I couldn't cry. And I was like, why am I not able to cry? Why am I not able to go into my emotions? And then from that moment on, I got very much soaked into it's like, okay, why am I not able to feel my emotions? Why am I not able to get into that? And I kept on working on it. I kept on working on it, but it still was so hard. And then I remember then I went to Australia for 1 year to do like work and travel. And I still remember this one day when I was in my apartment, and somehow I got triggered, and I was able to go into my emotions, and I cried for like 30 minutes, and it was just the best thing in the world. It was just the best thing in the world. Like, so much healing happened. I was crying for 30 minutes. It was so relieving. I got so much out of my system, and then I kept on going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then somehow I discovered like masculine, feminine polarity, and I've seen that there's so many things that are not healthy in me, not really healthy in me. I was more in my feminine. I'm still more in my feminine than in my masculine, because I never had a masculine. I never had someone show me what is a healthy masculine. I only had my mom, and my mom was then more in her masculine, so I didn't have a feminine part in my life, which is why I got myself more in the feminine part. And then I got deeper into it, started coaching about it, and yeah, that's kind of like my story about getting in there. Like, there's so much more, but that's like, I think that's like the basic.
Hmm. And that's so beautiful how our wounds always guide us where we need to be, right? Because, like,
Totally.
I
Yeah,
chose to be a
totally.
connection catalyst because I was abandoned as a kid. So now I want to connect. And so it's like a blessing in disguise that we have from the universe. It's like,
Mm.
okay, let's get hurt by this or that so that then we can find our purpose and mission in it to help others, heal and discover themselves and their true center. Thank you so much for sharing this story. It's really inspiring. And
Yeah.
I want
I
to
want to
ask
I want
you,
to add
what does healthy masculine mean to you?
Oh, okay. Healthy masculine. So I'm still getting more into it. And for me, healthy masculine is basically being able to not to control, not to be aggressive, not to be like to be a guide for the woman, but also for other men, and to be like to lead everything. Do you like masculine energy is like moving forward energy, and to be grounded, to know who you are, to be able to show boundaries, to be on your purpose, to be on your purpose and expressing it. And yeah, that's basically it. That's basically it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's really nice. I actually agree with that. I feel like the masculine is like containing, and feminine is like flowing in it in a way. One lady on the workshop, one of the workshops, mentioned that masculine is like a vein, and feminine is like blood. So the masculine can direct the blood, and the blood is flowing. And without the vein, the blood would be just spilling everywhere. And without the blood, the vein wouldn't have any purpose to be there even. So I think it's a really good comparison to give. And so that brings me a little bit to the topic of relationships, because I'm really curious about your opinion, because the same lady was saying how in relationships you need to be more in one polarity in order for the attraction and for the needs really to be met from your partner, for example. Because she was saying, and I'm really curious if you agree with that, she was saying, okay, if I was in my masculine half of the, like 50% masculine 50% feminine, I wouldn't actually really need them, the man or whoever, like if you prefer the same gender, that's okay as well, but I wouldn't let's say, outsource this other energy outside of me if I had both in balance. And if I'm like more, let's say, 70% in my feminine and 30 in my masculine, then there is a polarity. And then my partner, for example, can be 70% in his masculine and 30 in his feminine. Let's say she just gave this percentage. And I'm curious to know how you see it. Do you see it as like a dance, as a balance, as like, do you feel like there needs to be both and more of one in you, so that you're attracted and polarized with someone, so that you can actually feel like you want to be with the other person? Because otherwise you can be like, okay, I'm independent, I can just handle myself because I have both of these energies, I don't actually need anyone. What do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, if you're conscious, you can always decide if you want to be with someone. So that's part of it. But also in a relationship, there has to be this. I think there has to be this difference. Like someone has to be more in the masculine, and the other one has to be more in the feminine. I mean, the feminine, the woman can still be more in the masculine, and the guy can be more in the feminine, and then it's still working out. But it has to be clear for both on both sides. Okay, who's more in the feminine, who's more in the masculine, in order to have this polarity, and then it can work pretty well. And the woman can still be in the masculine, when she's working. I mean, also with my girlfriend, she's also when she's doing her job, and when she's like hustling and all of that stuff, she's more in the masculine, and that's okay. And when I'm working, I'm more in the masculine as well. But then, like when we come together, we have to decide, like on the energy level, okay, who's more the masculine and who's more the feminine. Otherwise it's gonna like not connect, and we're gonna pull us apart. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing that you have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, who wants to be more in the masculine, who wants to be more in the feminine. And are you usually, cause so in my case, it's like I'm still my feminine, but I want to be more in the masculine because I feel like I want to be in the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other people who are more okay with being the feminine because that's the way they are. But some people, they have the wounds in them, like masculine wounds, feminine wounds, that put them in this energy where they are right now. And so in order, you have to heal that in order to be in your healthy energy, either it's masculine or whether it's feminine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, and I would love to talk about these wounds in a moment as well, because they are super interesting for me. But I feel like I want to just touch upon what you just said, because I honestly, my intuition, and that might be completely wrong, but that's just how I'm feeling, is that every man who is like naturally, because some men are in the man body but they actually feel like a woman, like, that's not what I'm talking about here. But I feel like for a man who wants to be masculine, as you said, if a man is in their feminine, at some point there might be actually like an inner resistance to being in their feminine most of the time. Because I know relationships, my best friends, for example, when they met, certainly my male friend was more in his feminine and my female friend was more in her masculine, right? And actually they, after some years, realized, okay, we actually want to switch it, right? We want to be the opposite. Because I feel like if you are a woman and you feel like a woman and then you're most of your life in your masculine, to me at least, it seems like it brings a lot of inner tension and resistance, because your essence is more feminine as a woman and your essence is more masculine as a man. But then you have all these filters on reality, right? And I feel like that works when you are in the situation like this, for example, like my friends, where they're like, okay, now we want to switch roles, and then they just switch. They heal their traumas that blocked them from their femininity or masculinity, depending on who it was, and then they can just swap, and then they still can be together and still be polarized, but in other way. But do you feel like if someone is, let's say, if a man feels like a man and is in his feminine energy most of the time, do you feel like at some point it actually would create some kind of inner resistance? Because it's, to me, it just seems like it's not the natural essence of a man to be more of the time in his feminine energy.
Mm. That's a very interesting question. I've been thinking about that as well. I think that there might be men that they just want to stay in the feminine and feel okay with being in the feminine. But it's a thing of like being aware again. Like, is like someone aware of if he's in the more in the masculine or more in the feminine? if he's aware of that and he's feeling like, okay, there's something wrong, then you can look into it and see whether there are some wounds that has to be healed, so he can go more in the masculine, or for feminine more in the feminine. That's my case. I felt like, okay, there's something. I want to do more. I want to be more in the masculine. I want to be more in the moving forward energy and not in the feminine anymore. And so I had to look into it. And I haven't yet met someone on our clients as well who want to stay more in the feminine. They want to go more in the masculine, and because there's some wounds that happened, some traumas that happened, which is why they're more in the feminine and not in the masculine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like from the examples that I know, most of the men who are more in their feminine actually want to be in their masculine, and the only thing on the way is, as you said, trauma, some inner children, inner children, just
Yeah.
crying there and being super sensitive, and also like as you said, if you're raised in one or different way, then you adapt some traits or you balance out some traits that should be there and are not there, and then you become like the polarized opposite. And so there could be a lot, and I guess you discover it all when you do our favorite shadow work, right? When you just go there deep in the shit and you see, okay, this is who I
Oh
am,
yes,
okay,
yeah.
this is another
Oh
part of
my
me,
god.
okay, this part I
Yeah.
actually resist, but it's a part of me, I gotta accept it. And so yeah, I feel like as you are so right to say, it depends on the awareness, because some people might be like, yeah, I want to stay in my feminine, but they have no idea that this is all coming from fear and from protection, because usually it's like our protective part that becomes something in order to something get approval, love, whatever else is
Mm,
there. So it's actually a really interesting topic, but I
mm,
guess it also depends on the person, right? Like we cannot measure everyone with the same ruler. We cannot say, okay, it's always like this or that, because I feel like we then close ourselves in boxes, and I feel like there's always different energy, different person. So maybe it's gonna
mm,
be great for some men to be in their feminine energy for their whole life, and maybe that's their choice and their preference for this life. So yeah, we never know what their soul's purpose is, so we should not label anything in any way. But let's come back to these topics of wounds, because that's really really interesting. And I
mm.
would love to discuss, or maybe for you to share about a little bit about the mother and father wounds, but also the tribal wound, because that's one that is the most interesting for me. But yeah, I'm super curious for you to share everything about all of them.
Yeah, so there's so much connected to healing and shadow work and going into your masculine or feminine. And one thing, definitely the mother wound, father wound, or any kind of traumas that you had. In my case, you're getting abused, and then you don't trust the masculine. Because in my case, it was a very controlling masculine energy. So I like disown, and like I can't trust the masculine energy because I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like this man. I don't want to be this abuser. So I see the masculine as something unhealthy. I see the masculine as something I don't want to be, because that made me sick. That made me hate this energy, right? And in order to heal that, I have to forgive that person. I have to forgive that person, right? And it's such a hard thing. It's so hard because you have to understand that forgiving doesn't mean it's okay that what he did, but it's so hard to get there. It's so hard because it's like everything is also subconsciously happening. Like, am I still, you think you maybe have forgiven someone, but actually there's still so much happening in your subconscious, in your shadow. That was one big wound for everyone. Like, oh, you got picked on in school. You got picked on in school from men. That's usually men have doing, and then you also hate this energy. You don't like this energy. Like you don't want to be like this, and so you have those other traits in you that are getting more, that you are owning more, right? And then it depends like how you grew up. If you had a father figure, did you have a mother figure? How was your mother? How was your father? And in my case as well, like, how was my mother? My mother was, because she was on her own, she was more on the masculine. She had to do. She had to guide us. And because she was more on the masculine, I was missing the feminine. And because I was missing the feminine, I had to give the feminine myself. So I got more into the feminine. And so, in order to heal that, I have to give myself more the feminine in order to go more into the masculine, which is also why I then somehow seen the pattern in my life that everyone that I met, like my mom, my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend, they're more in the masculine because they never had like a healthy masculine in their lives. And so I've seen, oh, maybe that's my like my purpose to be here, to go into the healthy masculine and guide them so they are allowed, so they are able to go in their healthy feminine and chill in their feminine. And so then the mother wound, right? Mother wound has also so much stuff, so many things that I take from my mom that are still in me, right? Some unhealthy patterns, some unhealthy behaviors that you have to become aware of. Like, talk to your mom, talk to your, what is like, what has she been doing, why has she been doing this, um, noticing the energy behind everything, noticing the energy behind all the behaviors. One of them for me was abundance and money mindset so much. Even though, when I asked when I was a kid, can I have ice cream? Or when I go to a restaurant, can I have something? And she's like, no, 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 just one food and nothing to drink. Stuff like that. Or we went in a grocery shopping, right? Grocery shopping, and she said like, I can only have one thing for myself. And those kind of energies are still in myself. I still embody all of that. And then you have to become aware of more of that. Like, what did your mother gave you that you still embody so you can let go of it? Same goes for the father wound. For the father wound. What I did, I was talking to my mom, like, okay, how was my dad? How was my dad in the relationship? How did my father grew up? I also asked my mom, how did you grew up? Because then you can actually feel all of that, and it makes sense then, in a sense that, okay, where's this like lack mentality coming from? Or in my case as well, that my dad cheated on my mom, and I didn't know for so long, but somehow I felt it. And then when I asked my mom, and she confirmed, I was like, fuck, that's it. And I can feel it in my body. I'm like, why? Because I'm aware of like what I'm thinking, what are my stories, what am I feeling? Like, and I also have like I had those stories, okay, I need to cheat and something like that. Like, why? I don't want to. But why is my body like pushing me in that direction? And that was so interesting when I talked to her and she told me that. I'm like, whoa. And then I can like let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can let go of it. So you have to be aware, and that's the easiest thing to talk to your parents if you're able to, or like talk to someone, or talk to your brothers, siblings, whatever, just to see what they still know, what they experience, so you can actually then let go of all of that.
Do you feel like
That is.
awareness is
Mm,
enough? Like sometimes it's enough to just be aware of something to be able to let it go, or do you feel like it's always necessary to, for example, go through the emotion or go through something and go deep? Because what I found is sometimes like it actually just clicks when you're like, okay, that's why I have this behavior or action, and then it literally just goes away just because you're like, ah, okay, I got it from my mama. And then it's just like gone, right? But all like I've heard once, I had a session with my friend who is clairvoyant, and he said, we had a session about, yeah, letting go and kind of like wanting, and he said that, I think I maybe shared this with you before, that I have a lot of wanting in me, like I want this, I want that. It's kind of like control, and I need to let go and not stop wanting things, so then things can come to me. But he said to me, if you only say it, express it out to your friends or family, already like a 50% of it is going to be gone from your body, because you're kind of admitting it to yourself. It's not even about expressing to others, but if you say it, it's kind of like you're admitting it to yourself. So then you're kind of more aware and it goes deeper. And so already half of this energy is gone from your body. So that's what he said. So do you feel like the awareness itself sometimes can be enough to just let go of the pattern, or do you feel like, yeah, or what does it depend on maybe?
hmm So awareness in my case is key. All the time when I'm aware of like where this is coming from, then it's so easy for me to let go of it. But now telling me that as well, like admitting it and like saying it out. Do you also mean like saying it out loud so
Yeah,
you admit it yourself?
expressing it.
Yeah, that's also something I've noticed as well. Like being able to express something and then you somehow, because you expressed it, you admit it yourself, you prove it yourself. It's yeah, it's like you let it go as well because you've admitted it.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a big part. For me, the biggest one though is awareness. Like where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Why do I have that? And I can like track it back to the root cause, to the root wound. And once I know that one, I can like just it just yeah, then it goes away. Like you go back to the experience where it all started, you can feel it to heal it, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super simple, but you have to be aware, like where you have to look first, and then you can actually let go of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. And also, I feel like even Tilson on the completion process training, which is also going
Mhm.
back to childhood and feeling it and releasing it, she
Yeah,
was saying that
yeah,
yes, sometimes the pure awareness of what happened is enough. But also, if you have like a big emotional charge in this specific experience, in this specific childhood trauma, then, as you said, it is necessary to actually go there and feel it, because otherwise the emotional charge, although you intellectually can say, okay, this is what I've experienced, if you don't let go of the emotion that is attached to the trauma, then you might not fully heal it and not fully let it go, because there's still some, I don't know, anger, resentment, sadness, whatever else is suppressed within you. So I feel like depends on the case. Sometimes the awareness, like let's say intellectual awareness, just knowing what happened, can be enough to just let it go. And sometimes just the full experience, the full letting go, where you're experiencing again what happened for the first time, when you experience this feeling or this belief or this trauma, wherever it was. I feel like it's both. It depends on how deep your wound is, I guess, as well.
yeah. The funny thing is, like me coaching men to go more on the masculine and like going deeper and healing their wounds. Most of the men, they're not able to feel those emotions, right? So one of the things that we have to teach them first is like to like feel, and it's such a big step as well. I used to coach a couple of women, and when we started to do like healing work, letting go, they were so fast. And then compared to men who are just like usually up in their head, it's like it took so much longer to heal. It's like, what do you mean? I don't know. I'm like, they're just thinking, but not able to feel. And so that's like the first step as well, like to go into your emotions, to go into your body, to be able to feel all of that, so you can actually let go of all those traumas, those charged emotions that you have in your body.
So, what's your advice to men who really struggle to feel? Like, what's maybe the exercise or something that they could do for themselves to get more in touch with their body?
Basically, like first thing, like awareness again, like focus on your body. And what we usually give them as an exercise is take cold showers. Take cold showers, and when you take the cold shower, don't resist it. Like usually you go into the cold shower, it's like very cold, it's like, "Ooh, I don't want to be here," but like actually like accept it. So accept it, and then like this is like some part of like letting go, like accepting it that it's cold. That's a big one that we teach. Or like take off your shirt, walk like naked around your in your house, just to because just taking off your shirt makes you more aware of your body as well. Exercises, doing sports, going out, running, all of that, where you're more into your body. Everything that helps you go into more into your body. Or what helped me the most as well is like watching movies, either like very sad ones that make me cry, so I actually go more into like feeling. Yeah, those kind of exercises I always recommend.
And I think that yoga is good for that as well, because you can really get awareness
Yeah,
of where anything is in your body. And during yoga, some people actually have full on emotional release, or they cry or whatever, because it's such a, yeah, like if you just move this energy in your body, something is coming up. And I love what Tilswan was saying. I'm going to refer to Tilswan a lot of times. I always do on these podcasts, because Tilswan is awesome.
huge fan,
If
eh?
ever any of you guys
Yeah,
haven't listened to her, just go and freaking listen. Because she was
yeah,
saying to actually set an alarm every hour of the day to ask yourself, how do I feel? And every hour, just like repeating this question, how do I feel? How do I feel? And then you get in touch more and more with how you feel, because you're asking constantly your consciousness, you're questioning, right? So then you can
yeah,
get more in touch with your body. And what I would say also is for men to go and type in Google nonviolent communication list of emotions, and then actually read intellectually what is the emotion that you can feel, because sometimes this is like, okay, I feel something in my body, but what is it? It's like, how do I name
Mm,
it? I don't even know the name, because men don't feel emotions, women are only emotional and crazy with their periods and everything, but men don't cry, men don't feel, and all these things. So if you
mm.
actually know what type of emotions there are and how to name them simply, I think that could help as well, because I've had some clients that were so not in touch with their feelings that they didn't even know how to intellectually label the emotion. So I think these approaches, apart from going to your body, but to also, because men are so intellectual, that could help from the intellectual standpoint to know, okay, this is the emotion that I potentially can feel, right? Because not everyone is so in touch with it.
Definitely, definitely. And also like noticing where in your body are you feeling it, right? So if it's in your heart, if it's in your chest area, maybe the chakras, right? Third eye, root chakra, where do you feel it in your body so you can actually then also better identify what kind of emotion that is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me as well, like recently I've, I've I got more into like toxic shame. And I was like, I don't know what toxic shame feels like. And then I got into it, and then oh shit, so this is actually what toxic shame feels like. And then like it's so much clearer, because when I grew up, no one told me what kind of feelings I'm feeling. I was like, I don't know what I'm feeling. What kind of emotions are there? And then I started to read the book from David O. Harkins, Letting Go, and then you have your scale, right, of emotions, and I'm like, fuck, that opened up my awareness, and like it was crazy inspiration. I read this book in one day, because like fuck, that was such a guideline for how to feel your emotions. Like whoa, that is so crazy. It was so amazing. I was so happy when I read about all of that. It's like whoa, someone telling me how I can feel my emotions. See, that's so awesome. Yeah, I loved it.
And not only how to feel, but also how to move up the scale, right? How to move from
Yeah.
shame and guilt and powerlessness to courage and love and acceptance and peace, and how to actually like move through it. I actually love this book as well, because it explains all the emotions in such a detail, and gives it such a definition. Like, what is it even, right? Because sometimes we don't even know. It was inspiring for me to read it too. So that's amazing. But we haven't talked about tribal wounds, and I really am curious about
Oh.
this.
Mm-hmm. All right, tribal wounds. It's it's basically like, well, okay, generations before you. So trying to figure out. So there's an exercise that I love to do, is just to imagine my mom or my dad, and then just to see where they're coming from, like the grandma, grandpa, other grandpa. Go in there and like feel if there's anything that you might got from them. So I know also like awareness as well, like okay, talk to your mom, talk to your dad, what happened to them, get to know your grandparents, what happened to them, talk to them if they're still alive. And a big thing is definitely the World War, the Second World War in my case as well, and see like hey, somehow it doesn't make sense again. Like it doesn't make sense going back to your generations before, going back and like seeing what do you feel like in your body again. Like it doesn't make sense. And like I feel like my grandpa, I feel like my other grandma, I feel like she was toxic. It doesn't make sense, because in my case as well, my grandma was one of my biggest inspirations, because when I was like I think 18 or something, she called me. She was always to my birthday. She wrote a letter with some awesome quotes in there. But then somehow when I got into this healing, I was talking and like getting into the tribal wounds. I somehow felt that my grandma was toxic, and it didn't make sense. I'm like, I was thinking so awesomely about her. She had such a good heart. She was taking care of us when we grew up. She when we ate the food, my mom told me she was like always like just saying like, oh, I'm gonna put some magic in there now. And then we got excited as a kid and we ate the food, and it's like, oh, we were so happy about it. And then when I go back to this like feeling again, and like like going to my dad first, and then I feel like, okay, how did he grow up? Because I feel a lot of connection still to my dad, even though I'm not talking to my dad. I still feel so much connection to him. And like, why am I still feeling so connected to him? And what kind of trauma does he has that I haven't seen yet? And then I felt like somehow that grandma my grandma, that was like my role model, was somewhat very toxic, like very strict to my dad, very strict, which is why he was so not in freedom, not a leader, not in a healthy masculine, because I felt like she was putting him down all the time, and I think that makes sense at the time. And then that's what you have to do. You have to talk again, like talk to your parents, talk maybe yeah to talk to your parents, talk to your brothers again, just to become aware. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's so crazy. And then you can also feel it in your body, like what part of your body. I felt it so much on the right side, the masculine side. The right side is the masculine side. I have so much pain in the right shoulder, and I'm like, why am I still feeling so much pain? And then I felt so much from my grandma's side, that she was like very keeping you close, keeping you controlled, keeping you very controlled. I'm not able to go out or something. And like that was so interesting to me when I was able to heal all of that. And I know there's probably so much more when I go deep and I can imagine, like, feel into it. What is something that is holding me back? I just feel it, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing how much sometimes we can just get from talking to people, right? And I feel like
Yeah,
also just questioning within yourself can also give you answers, because you, if you ask a question and you just come up with first thing that comes to your mind. For example, do I have any ancestral wounds? For example, or do I have any tribal wounds? And then your body will respond with something, because your instinct, your subconscious mind, it's all written there, right? It's all in your body anyway. So even just by
yeah,
questioning yourself, you can get to some deep work, and also some awesome triggers, as we as we say it.
very
Because
awesome.
yeah, questioning yourself and just getting in touch again with the body can tell you so much. And I'm really big on ancestral healing as well, because I can see how much I am connected to my grandparents, even though some, like with my granddad, I barely speak and I barely see him. But when I had ancestral healing with Fergus, one of the people that I've also spoken on the podcast here, and there was so much coming from this side and from his mom, and I'm just like, I don't even speak to this person. Why am I so affected by them and their life and their childhood and their things, right? But this energy is still in me, so it's flowing through me in a way, like I'm partially made of them in a way. So obviously it's gonna affect me, but it's so good to yeah, to be aware of this. And also, when you're aware of it, it influences your whole life, and it influences your relationships as well, because then you can really see when you are playing out some of the patterns of your family, rather than actually like getting triggered, for example, at your partner, right? Because then you're like, ooh, okay, mother issue is coming, ooh, father issue is coming. And then you're just like more, I don't know, patient, more understanding, more empathetic towards yourself and towards other people. So I'm really curious to know, maybe you can give an example of how understanding of these mother and father and tribal wounds has helped you to move through maybe conflicts in relationships, or generally like how it has improved your relationships, because I think that that's a big topic to talk about. And for anyone who hasn't maybe even go, haven't for anyone who hasn't gone down the rabbit hole of exploring these wounds, it might be quite inspiring to
Yeah.
know some kind of story or some kind of benefits that you got, working with it.
Well, definitely for me, one of the biggest takeaways or healing thing was, like, for my relationship, that, well, first and foremost, like, not cheating, staying in the relationship, because I could see, like, how my parents grew up. They were together, and then they got divorced. And I also still have this. I was like taking this story with me, that I was able to heal, so I'm not like cheating, or not breaking up because of the divorce. So that was still in me, and I was like, okay, fuck, I'm like, because you're not aware, and then then you start to self sabotage your relationship, and it doesn't make sense again, right? It doesn't make sense. That's so important, that you become aware how your parents grew up, how your grandparents grew up. All of that is so much ingrained of you. One of my things as well is that, I had this like abandonment wound. I think I still have some other like abandonment wounds in me as well. But I my dad, he left home quite early, And I somehow felt as like he was missing his home somehow. And I felt this like sadness in me. And I was like, why am I sad in a relationship? Why am I sad all the time? I'm in a relationship with an awesome woman, and I'm sad in myself. And then I'm projecting onto her, and then it's not happy. And then she's like asking if this if is this the right relationship, right? And then we had so many times where we're like, okay, are we doing it or are we not doing it? For a couple times, and all the time there was like so much self sabotage coming from my mom's side, from my dad's side, from tribal wounds, ancestors that are still inside of me. And that's again like becoming aware. What is your stories? What is your head telling you all the time? What are your emotions telling you all the time? Is this the right woman or not? And then saying, okay, because you can consciously choose to stay with your partner, you can consciously choose to stay with your partner, but like you have to figure out, okay, why are you still repeating this pattern? Where is this coming from? And then you can let go of it, and then you can stay together and make an awesome relationship out of it. Awesome relationship out of it. And yeah, that's the biggest thing to me, like to be able to stay in the relationship, because I want to be a role model to other men out there, to show, okay, there are healthy relationships that stay together. Because nowadays it's like Tinder and Bumble and whatever, like you just swipe left and right,
Yep.
you got a new date and whatever, but you're not actually staying together like your grandparents. They stay together for their entire lives. And I think that was, I like that, being loyalists, growing together and building something together. And I want to be a role model to other men, to just show that.
And you already are, my dear. You already
Yeah.
are. And I know that, and I see it, and I honor that in you. And that's really, really beautiful. So, for every man that is listening to this podcast right now, and maybe they would like to be coached by you because they resonate with what you're sharing, what is the best way to contact you?
Well, they can find me. Well, hopefully they speak German, because my coaching is in German. We have a website. It's called charlieimse .de. That's we give every Tuesday. So far, we give every Tuesday a workshop on finding an awesome woman, a lovely, loving woman to stay together. And then we work on like masculine energy, feminine energy. We work on subconscious stuff, subconscious definition of love, subconscious story of love, all of that. And then they can also find me on Instagram, Marvin Jordan under slash. No, what is called this
Underscore.
under? Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's where they
Beautiful.
can find me. Thank you.
Amazing. That was so amazing to talk to you, and I just feel so connected, and everything that you shared was really
Awesome.
spot on. So thank you so much for agreeing, for being brave to be seen. If it was your first time, that's really
I
brave. I
know.
remember my first podcast. I was so nervous and so stressed, and you did so great. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, dear brother, for sharing yourself with us. And yeah, just sending you so much love and gratitude.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, for inviting me and being able to talk to you about it. It was awesome. Thank you so much.